Join the Fox Den Discord down below.
What's up, Fox Den Fox here, and I am still watching the playthrough for this game from Press Buttons and Talk. Press Buttons and Talk, huge shout out to them. One of my favorite YouTubers runs this channel, and that would be Mr. Pro ZD himself, as well as his friend Mankey, and I have been having an absolute blast with this. I'm sorry if I just scratched my beard right into the microphone, but first of all, the art's really nice. The problem that I have with this game sometimes is I've taken classes. In my high school, we were allowed to take a lot of different classes, and one of the classes that I took was called Street Law. And essentially what it was the entire American justice system and we focused very heavily on why O.J. Simpson's trial went wrong. And I see so many parallels in this game that it's like I really wanted to commentate on it, and we'll just have some fun, do some voices. And I'm not here to like shit on anybody. This is totally a work of fiction. I just want to like, in certain cases, I may just say, you know, if it was in the American judicial system, which I'm definitely not saying is perfect, I would say that they would do this instead. Damn it. Why me? I can't get caught. Not like this. Hello there. I've got to find someone to pin this on. Hello there, creepy. Someone like him. I'll make it look like he did it. I am in no means, a voice actor at all. You can listen to my Joker, because that was a horrible idea, and it's one of my most viewed videos, and it's grody. Actually, it's not one of my most viewed videos anymore, but it's in like top 20. Boy, am I nervous. Right. Hello there, Mia. God damn. Oh, hiya, chef. Woo, I'm glad I made it on time. Well, I have to say, Phoenix, I'm impressed by making it on time. Not everyone takes a Not everyone takes a murder trial like this off the bat. You wanna know why? Because nobody on Earth ever should. Your first case generally shouldn't be with a private attorney. Most lawyers likely work as a state attorney first. So they take cases, and they usually will just take, you know, regular cases. And there can be murder cases, but you work as a state judge usually, or you work as a state lawyer. You don't work as usually a private lawyer as your first job. It says a lot about you and your client as well. Thanks. Actually, it's because I owe him a favor. Oh wait, actually, I don't even know what voice is. A favor? You mean you knew the defendant before this case? I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's legal for you to defend your friends. Like, this is complete. People will disregard that. People in the court have the right to know. So there is a chance that could prove to be a lot of bias. Actually, I kind of owe my current job to him. If you said that to anybody but her right now, you would be very, very harshly judged on. He's one of the reasons I became an attorney. Yeah. So it's like I gotta cover his ass. That's what you're saying. Well, that's news to me. I want to help him out any way I can. I just really want to help him. I hope him that much. It's over. My life, everything, it's all over. Is that your client screaming over there? Yeah, it's him. Death, despair. Oh, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna die. Probably. I would not trust my friend to cover my ass on his first trial. It sounds like he wants to die. Yeah, so do I after this. Nick. Hey there, Larry. Dude, I'm so guilty. Tell them I'm guilty. Give me the death sentence. I ain't afraid to die. All right, Vassier, if those two police officers right here heard any of that, they would talk to the judge and say he confessed he was guilty. Oh, it's all over. I'm finished. I cannot live in a world without her. I can't. And if you were a smart again, all in the American judicial system, and this is clearly a very dystopian world that we have here, where the case systems go over 3 days. But if you were a decent defense attorney, if they say they're guilty, you've got to play along. It is not your right to say that your client is innocent. You can gladly say, well, I think that we have enough evidence to prove your innocence. What you can't say is, I'm going to go against your wishes. If you confess your guilt, I will try and help you to help alleviate your problem. So instead of getting first-degree murder, perhaps we can go for involuntary manslaughter. Perhaps we can go for second-degree murder, anything like that. Who took her away from me, Nick? Who did this? Oh, Nick, you gotta tell me. Who took my baby away? The person responsible for your girlfriend's death? The newspapers say it was you, and you literally just claimed guilt. Like, again, if I was Phoenix, I'd be like, hey, you may want to just take this. If you are saying you're guilty, then I will not go against your wishes. I will try and get you a lighter sentence. My name is Phoenix Wright. Here's the story. My first case is a fairly simple one. Oof. A young woman was killed in her apartment. The guy they arrested was the unlucky sap dating her. Larry Butts, my best friend since grade school. Our school had a saying, when something smells, it's usually the butts. In the 23 years I've known him, it's usually been true. He has a knack for getting himself in trouble. Wow. I was Press Buttons and Talk does a Nintendo DS playthrough, so it's like 4 pixels big, but this is like super crisp. One thing I can say though, it's usually not his fault. He just has terrible luck. I think this is even in 1080p, which is impressive for the Switch. But I know better than anyone that he's a good guy at heart. That is why I own one, which is why I took the case. Fuck me. I can't read because I'm thinking of something else that I want to tell you to clear his name. We're going to go through this entire case just in one sitting. So this could be like an hour and 40 minutes. I don't know how long these are. And that's just what I'm going to do. All right, Phoenix. All right. August 3rd, 10 o'clock a.m. District Court. Courtroom number 2. All right. Court is now in session for the trial of Mr. Larry Butts. The prosecution is ready, Your Honor. The defense is ready, Your Honor. Mr. Wright. I don't want to rip off the voices of Press Buttons and Talk and just do my own, but like they just nailed it on the first try. This is your first trial, is it not? Yes, Your Honor. I'm a little nervous. Your conduct during this trial will decide the fate of your client, quite literally. Are you sure you want to have a murder case as your first case? Murder is a serious charge. There is a chance, depending on what state this takes place in, if it were in an American court, that he could literally die because of this. Good idea. Good idea to choose this. Thank you, Your Honor. Jesus Christ, man. Mr. Wright, given the circumstances, I think we should have a test to ascertain your readiness. If any judge ever does... First of all, if your attorney does this, you say right here, I would like to fire my attorney. Can we postpone the trial? I have a feeling the judge would be like, your attorney's a fucking moron. Let's get somebody else. I agree. Yes, Your Honor. The hand shaking, eyesight fading. The test will consist of a few simple questions. Answer them clearly and concisely. Please state the name of the defendant in this case. The defendant is Larry Butts. It's Mia Fey. I'm just, let's do it. Let's do it. The, defendant? That's, Mia Fey? Just, psh, wrong, right? Look, I have to leave. I have to go home. I'm expecting it. Oh, come on, Chief. There's no need to be going so soon, is there? Listen, Wright. The defendant is the one on trial. Your client. I mean, that's about as basic as you can get. Yes. I put my foot in it this time. I've got to relax. Sorry, I couldn't hear your answer. I'll ask you one more. Please state the name of the defendant in this case. If I lose because of this, I'll just restart. The defendant is me, right? Right. Have you completely lost your mind? Focus. The defendant is a person on trial. You're his lawyer. Lawyer. Oh, yeah, right. There's no laughing matter. You didn't pass the bar. If you don't know the answer to this basic question, you didn't even take the bar. The only bar you're at is for your fucking alcoholism, because this just jogged your brain. Sorry, I couldn't quite hear you. Thank God. Please state the name of the defendant in this case. The defendant? Well, that's Larry Butts, Your Honor. Correct. Just keep your wits about you and you'll do fine. I got the question twice wrong, and the judge clearly needs a hearing aid. Luckily, they have records. Next question. This is a murder trial. Tell me, what's the victim's name? Phew, I know this one. Glad I read the case report cover so many times. It's... Wait. Uh-oh. No way, I forgot. I'm drawing a total blank here. Phoenix, are you absolutely sure you're up to this? I don't know, I'm giving her a Boston accent. That's not even a Boston accent. You don't even know the victim's name? Yeah. Oh, the victim. Of course I know the victim's name. I just forgot temporarily. Now, if this is your first case, you have the right to be like, oh, I forgot, I blanked. People will probably be like, okay, you're right, you're nervous. But again, you shouldn't be doing a murder. You shouldn't do a murder trial. You should probably do a trial for a speeding ticket or something. Look, the victim's name is listed in the court record. Just press the R button to check it at any time, okay? And I would say genuinely check the, like, choose a case you think you'll win. There's the prosecutor in this case lacks presence. Okay, so that's a good thing. I mean, we're kind of in the same boat here. Cindy Stone. It is Sydney Stone. That's easy. Okay, remember to check it often. Do it for me, please. I'm begging you. Mr. Wright, who is the victim in this case? Cinder Block. The victim's name is Cindy Stone. I would have beat my head over one right now. Correct. Now tell me, what was the cause of death? A brain aneurysm that I'm about to have. Just a vein. Pff. She died because she was poisoned, strangled, hit with a blunt object. She was struck once by a blunt object. Correct. You've answered all my questions. I see no reason why we shouldn't proceed. You seem much more relaxed, Mr. Wright. Good for you. Good for you on being a judge. Thank you, Your Honor. Or I'm being a lawyer. Because I don't feel relaxed, that's for sure. You may want to change out your suit or invest in AC. Well then, first, a question for the prosecution. Mr. Payne? Yes, Your Honor? As Mr. Wright just told us, the victim was struck with a blunt object. Would you explain to the court just what that object was? The murder weapon was this statue of the Thinker. It was found lying on the floor next to the victim. I see. The court accepts this into evidence. The court accepts this into evidence? Bro, okay, again, this is it's clearly not based on the American system, but if the American system was in this case, every single piece of evidence would be cleared weeks beforehand. There is always a trial before a trial. And not a lot of people know that. And I'm not saying that to like be like, oh, mansplaining or anything like that, but generally you usually think of the entire case happening in one sitting. The evidence is recorded for it, but no, there's always a pre-trial without a jury that because obviously the prosecution has to have burden of proof. And if there's not enough proof in the pre-trial, then there's no point to have a full trial. So, saves money, saves time. You wouldn't just have evidence. Right. Be sure to pay attention to any evidence added during a trial. That evidence is the only ammunition you have in court. Use the R button to check the court. You want my badge? The Thinker. Which is also... Alright. Oh, Mr. Payne, the prosecution may call its first witness. The prosecution calls the defendant, Mr. Butts, to the stand. Chief, what do I do now? Pay attention. You don't want to miss any information that might help your client's case. Wouldn't you... The prosecution wouldn't bring up the defendant. The defense would bring up the defendant, ask them the questions first. Prosecution will be able to cross-examine. That's how it goes. And in this game, only we get to cross-examine. In real life, in the American system, both sides get to cross-examine. Because both sides typically have witnesses. Pay attention. You don't want to miss any information. You'll get your chance to respond to the prosecution later, so be ready. Let's just hope he doesn't say anything unfortunate. Uh-oh. Larry gets excited easily. This could be bad. Ahem. Mr. Butts, is it not true that the victim had recently dumped you? Hey, watch it, buddy! We were great together! We were Romeo and Juliet, Cleopatra and Mark Antony. Didn't they all die? I wasn't dumped. She just wasn't taking my phone calls or seeing me ever. What's it to you, anyway? Mr. Butts, what do you describe is generally mean by dumped? In fact, she completely abandoned you and was seeing other men. She had just returned overseas with one of them the day before the murder. What do you mean, one of them? Lies! All of it lies. I don't believe a word of it, and neither should the judge. Where's the evidence? Your Honor, the victim's passport that should have been scanned long beforehand, so that way the witness and everybody else in the entire case knew. According to this, she was in Paris until the day before she died. Passport added to the court record. Indeed. She appears to have returned the day before the murder. Dude, no way. The victim was a model, but did not have a large income. It appears that she had several sugar daddies. Daddies? Sugar? I'm more of a Splenda man myself. I haven't had sugar in a very long time. Yes, older men who gave her money and gifts. She took their money and used it to support her lifestyle. Dude! We can clearly see what kind of woman Miss Stone was. Tell me, Mr. Butts, what do you think of her now? Right? I don't think you want him to answer that question. There's a way of running his mouth in all the wrong directions. Should I? So, legally, there's no grounds for objection? Yes, there is. You can possibly try and say irrelevant to the case at hand, but I think it would most likely be relevant to the case at hand. My client had no idea the victim was seeing other men. That is very possible. That question is irrelevant to this case. Yes, and as a defense attorney, you should do everything you can to object to as many things as you can. Oof. Dude, Nick, what do you mean irrelevant? That cheating she... I'm gonna die. I'm just gonna die. At least he didn't say, I want to kill her. Yeah, and when I met her in the afterlife, I'm gonna get to the bottom of this. That's not smart. You should be grieving right now if it was your girlfriend, and at least put on that persona in court. I believe the accused's motive was clear to everyone. Yes, quite. Oh boy, this is so not looking good. Next question. You went to the victim's apartment on the day of the murder, did you not? Well, did you or did you not? Huh? Well, maybe I did, and maybe I didn't. Congratulations, you just committed perjury. Oh, you would be sent to jail immediately, and you would no longer be allowed to testify, and likely, since it is your own case, you would be guilty. No, he went. At the very least, you'd be guilty for perjury. I don't know what they would do after that. Have him answer honestly. Yes, that's the only thing you can. I know, I'll send him a signal. Tell the truth. Yeah, I was there, I went. That's what you gotta say. I was there of the day, I wasn't there at the time. Order! Well, Mr. Butts, dude, chill. She wasn't home, man, so I didn't see her. Objection! Your Honor, the defendant is lying. Lying? The prosecution would like to call a witness who can prove Mr. Butts is lying. Well, that simplifies matters. Your first... He didn't even finish testifying, so I don't think that would be correct. The man who found the victim's body just before making the gruesome discovery. He saw the defendant fleeing the scene of the crime. I can't read today. Order in the court. Mr. Payne, the prosecution may call its witness. Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor. This is bad. On the day of the murder, my witness was selling newspapers at the victim's building. Please bring Mr. Frank Saw to the stand. To the newspaper stand. So you're selling newspapers to the day of. You are dancing jovially. Mr. Sod, you sell newspaper subscriptions. Is this correct? Oh yes. Newspapers, yes. Mr. Sod, you may proceed with your testimony. Please tell the court what you saw on the day of the murder. Witness account. I was going door to door, selling subscriptions when I saw a man fleeing an apartment. I thought he must be in a hurry because he left the door half open behind him, and he looks like he was doing something else with his jeans. Thinking it strange, I looked inside the apartment. Then I saw her lying there. A woman, drinking out of a puddle on the floor. Then I saw it not moving, dead. I quailed in fright and found myself unable to go inside. I thought to call the police immediately. However, the phone in her apartment wasn't working, so you did go inside. I went to a nearby park and found a public phone. I remember the time exactly. It was 1 o'clock p.m. The man who ran was, without a doubt, the defendant sitting right over there. Larry, why didn't you tell the truth? I can't defend against a testimony like that. Incidentally, why was the phone in the victim's apartment not working? Your Honor, at the time of the murder, there was a blackout in the building, but he refused to go in, so that information's irrelevant. Aren't phones supposed to be working during a blackout? So, this game takes place in 2016, but I think it was released in the early 2000s or even the 90s. I'm pretty sure it was the 2000s. Could have been the 90s. I'm not entirely sure. But this is all based in 2016. So, think of it in 2016. Every cell phone on the planet works during a blackout. But clearly this was based in the future. They had no idea that cell phones were going to exist. Yes, Your Honor. However, some cordless phones do not function normally. The phone that Mr. Sott used was one of those. Your Honor, I have a record of the blackout for your perusal. So, this is clearly a time where satellite towers don't exist. Electricity to Miss Stone's building was out from noon to 6 p.m. on the daily crime. Now, Mr. Wright. Yes, yes, Your Honor. You may begin your cross-examination. How do you not know what a cross-examination is? Right, this is it. The real deal. What exactly am I supposed to do? I'm slipping it out of it. Why, you exposed the lies in the testimony the witness just gave. I'm sorry for bumping the microphone. Lies? He was lying? Your client is innocent, right? Then that witness must have lied in his testimony. Or is your client really guilty? How do I prove he's not? Lying as a witness is a terrible idea. And again, usually the witness testimony is written out so that way we can constantly reference it in a court of law. And the witness makes a testimony once, and that is it. If they're asked to repeat themselves, the answer is yes. But if they say something wrong, they still have to stick with that story. I do not believe you can revise a testimony. I think that would be just the easiest way to lie. You hold the key. It's in the evidence. Compare the witness's testimony to the evidence at hand. And if you are found needing to retake the testimony, then you'd be found for perjury because you're lying. There's bound to be a contradiction in there. First, find contradictions between the court record and witness's testimony. Then, once you found the contradicting evidence, present it and rub it in the witness's face. Okay. Open the court record with the R button. Then point out contradictions in the testimony. Okay. Okay. So let's find out the contradictions. Now this is something that's true. That's the whole point of a cross-examination. I was going door to door and selling subscriptions when I saw the man fleeing an apartment. Thought he must be in a hurry because he'd left the door half open behind him. Thinking it strange, I looked inside the apartment. Then I saw her lying there, a woman not moving, dead. I quailed in fright and found myself unable to go inside. I thought to call the police immediately. However, the alarm in her phone was... I don't think we pressed that one. If I remember the time exactly, it was 1 p.m. I think we pressed this one. 1 p.m., are you certain? Yes, absolutely. He seems really confident. 1 p.m. Right, doesn't that seem a bit strange to you? Present some evidence to contradict him. Alright, well what evidence do we have against that? Time of death, 4 to 5 p.m. Yeah, that's pretty solid. You found the body at 1 p.m.? You sure? Yes, it was 1 p.m. for certain. Frankly, I find that hard to believe. Your statement directly contradicts the autopsy report. The autopsy notes the time of death at some point after 4 p.m. There was no body to find at 1 p.m. How do you explain this 3-hour gap? Oh, that. Objection. This is trivial. The witness merely forgot the time. Probably one of the most trivial parts of any witness account is the time. If you say you forget the time, and first of all, I said it confidently multiple times as we pressed him. So obviously he's lying. After his testimony, I find that hard to believe. Mr. Saw It? Why were you so certain that you found the body at 1 o'clock p.m.? Gee, that's a really good question. Great job, Wright. Way to put him on the spot. That's all you have to do. Point out the contradictions. Lies always beget more lies. See through one, and their whole story falls apart. Wait! I remember now! Would you care to give your testimony again? You wouldn't give your testimony again. You see, when I found the body, I heard the time. There was a voice saying the time. It was probably coming from the television. Oh, but it was 3 hours off, wasn't it? I guess the victim must have been watching a videotaped program. That's why I thought it was 1 o'clock p.m. Terribly sorry about the misunderstanding. No. Maybe. If this was it, if you weren't a dumbass, you could possibly weasel your way out of it this way. If you weren't so fucking confident of it being at 1 o'clock, if you had said, I think it was 1 o'clock, I heard the voice, you have to be so thorough with witness reports aren't 3 lines of text. Witness reports are fucking pages long because the defendant and prosecutor, depending on which witness, has to fucking go through everything to make sure there's no evidence that contradicts itself, that the story is clear. Because if a story isn't clear with a witness, then again, they can be accused of perjury, and maybe sometimes they weren't even trying to do perjury, but it was just that they didn't realize what had actually happened. So whatever you say in your first testimony goes. You cannot revise like this unless there was evidence that said, yes, the reason why it was 1 p.m., like we'll see soon, the reason why it was 1 p.m. was something else. I see you heard a voice on a taped program. Mr. Wright, you may cross-examine the witness. Right. If you get this wrong, you're a fucking idiot. You know what to do. I've got this one. Because 4 minutes ago, if that, there was a voice saying the time. It was probably coming from the television. There was a blackout from noon to 6. Objection! Hold it right there. The prosecution has said there was a blackout at the time of the discovery, and this record proves it. Bling. You couldn't have heard a television or a video. Gah! The defense has a point. Do you have an explanation for this, Mr. Sawit? No, I find it quite puzzling myself. Quite. Wait, I remember now. Mr. Sawit, the court would prefer to hear an accurate testimony from the beginning. So yes, right now, after this, I'll say it. These constant corrections are harming your credibility. You'd be thrown in prison by perjury at this point. That, and you seem rather distraught. My apologies, Your Honor. It must have been a shock finding that body. Very well, Mr. Sawit. Let's hear your testimony once more, please. Actually, I didn't hear the time. I saw it. There was a table clock in the apartment, wasn't there? Yeah, the murder weapon. The killer used it to hit the victim. That must have been what I saw. Last time I checked, the murder weapon was a statue. The defense may cross-examine the witness. Gladly. Hearing the time. Yeah, okay. I believe you. 100%. Actually, I didn't hear the time. There's a table clock in the apartment, wasn't there? Yeah, the murder weapon. Present the fact that the murder weapon is a statue. Objection! Wait just a moment. Yep, this is all 100% legal. The only thing that the prosecution can do in this case, I believe, is say, objection, this is faulty. But usually cross-examinations, there's not a whole lot of that. And then if you are examining your own witness, you are completely 100% allowed to ask any sort of questions because it's your witness. Now, how is this supposed to be a clock? What? You with your objections and your evidence? Just who do you think you are? Just answer the question, Mr. Sawt. Hey, I saw it there, okay? That's a clock. Your Honor, if I may. Yes, Mr. Payne. As the witness stated, this statue is indeed a clock. The neck is a switch. You just tilt it and it says time out loud, but you said you saw it. Mr. Sawt. As it doesn't look like a clock, I submitted it as a statue. My apologies, but if you knew that it was a clock, why would you submit it as a statue? I see. You wouldn't forget that trivial piece of information for your entire witness's testimony. So the murder weapon was a table clock after all. Well, Mr. Wright, it appears that the witness's testimony was correct. This is a clock. Do you have any problems with this testimony now? Absolutely, tootly, brother! Your Honor, there's a gaping hole in the witness's testimony. The only way he could have known the weapon was a clock was to hold it in his hand, yet the witness testified he never entered the apartment. Clearly a contradiction. Indeed. The witness knew it was a clock because he went into the apartment. You're lying. You were inside the apartment on the day of the murder. Oh yeah? Prove it. Prove I went in there. Yeah, I'll do better than that. I can prove you were the one who killed her. And if you say something like that, congratulations, you just started an entirely new trial. The only job as a defense attorney is to save your defendant. As soon as the blame gets pinned on somebody else, your job is done. You say, okay, congratulations, my victim is waived, no such thing, double jeopardy. So you can't just start a trial on top of a trial, like he's trying to do. You would just stop it here, present the evidence, saying, okay, well, yeah, you'd have to open up the table clock, and then all that stuff. What you can't say is he killed her, because that opens up a big can of worms, and you gotta start a whole new trial. You struck her with the clock, and the shock of the blow triggered the clock's voice. That was the sound you heard. Sounds like a bunch of bullshit to me, fellas. Order in the court. Intriguing. But you're stupid. Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Sawt, the sound must have left quite an impression on you. Understandable, since the murder weapon spoke just as you hit the victim. The voice was burned into your mind. That's why you're so certain about the time. Objection. What's the meaning of this? This is all baseless conjecture. Not a single word of it is baseless conjecture. Well, yeah, it is, actually. You can't say, well, he killed her. Your only job is to get the witness off the hook. Or your defendant off the hook. Baseless. Just look at the witness's face. Good. This is how it worked in real life. You know how many people would be guilty? You can't look at me directly in the eyes without me smiling. It's like, seriously? Would the witness care to elaborate? Did you strike the victim with the clock? That day, I never... Look, the clock, I heard, I saw. Oh, that's disgusting. I just got lice. I can sue you. Shut up. I hate you. It was him, I tell you. I saw him. He killed her, and he should burn. Burn. Give him death. I don't even think if the... maybe if the witness confesses. In that case, then the judge would have to decide. There'd have to be a whole nother trial because you'd have to present all the evidence to a jury. Order in the court, I say. Your Honor, a moment, please. There isn't a shred of evidence supporting the defense's claims. Mr. Wright, Your Honor, claim the sound the witness heard came from the clock. Do you have any evidence? The whole case is riding on this. I'd better think through it carefully. Your Honor, the sound Mr. Sawt heard was definitely this clock. A fact which is clear if you simply... examine the clock's bat. Ask the neighbors. Try sounding the clock, I guess. I don't know. Let's sound the clock. Your Honor, may I have the clock? I ask the court to listen very carefully. Beep. I think it's 8:25. That certainly is a strange way to announce the time. Well, he is the thinker, after all. So, we've heard the clock. What are your conclusions, Mr. Wright? Mr. Payne, can you tell me what time it is now? It's 11:25. Ack! As you can see, this clock is exactly 3 hours slow. Precisely the discrepancy between what Mr. Sawhit heard and the time of death. So, Mr. Sawhit, try to talk your way out of this one. Ha! Ha ha! You forgot one thing. Uh-oh. What's he talking about now? While it may seem like that clock is running 3 hours slow, it proves nothing. How do you know it was running 3 hours slow on the day of the murder? If you can't prove that, you don't have a case. Well, it wasn't running 3 hours slow, it was running 9 hours fast. How am I going to prove that? Damn it, I was so close. Mr. Wright, it seems you lack the critical evidence to support your claim. You have different time zones, dumbass. This means I cannot let you indict the witness. Unfortunately, this ends the cross-examination of Mr. Frank Sawhit. I come all the way down here to testify, and look what happens. You would still... This is where it would be like, okay, clearly there is another case on hand. So, like, you gotta have another case. I come all the way down to testify, and look what happens. You treat me like a criminal. A criminal, because you are one. You lawyers are all slime. Grr, I almost had him. Sorry, Larry. I failed you. There's nothing I can do about it now. Yeah, you can, you moron. Not so fast, Mr. Sawhit. Yeah, I mean, Chief. Listen up, Wright. Don't throw this one away. Not like this. Think. But, Chief, it's over. I can't prove the clock was slow the day of the murder. Nobody can prove that. Yes, you can. Well, yes. That doesn't mean you can't still win. Try thinking out of the box. Don't waste your time doubting the facts. Assume the clock was 3 hours slow and think through it. Ask yourself, why was the clock 3 hours slow? Anybody with 2 brain cells would be like, oh shit, maybe it's because there's a time discrepancy between Paris and America. And research that reason. Figure out the reason and have your proof. Right? Can't you think of a reason as why the clock would be 3 hours slow? Yes. Wait. Maybe I can prove it. You must have evidence somewhere. Find it and let them have it. Well, Mr. Wright, you say the clock was already running slow on the day of the murder. Have you found evidence to support this claim? Of course. There's a piece of evidence in the court record that can prove my claim beyond a reasonable doubt. Ha! Tough words. Let's see how you can pull this one off. Everybody on the jury thinks I am immediately guilty. Let's see this evidence that proves that the clock was running slow. Well, because of the passport. Take that. The victim had just returned home from abroad the day before the murder. As we all know, the time difference between here and Paris is 9 hours. When it's 4 p.m. here, it's 1 a.m. the next day there. The clock wasn't 3 hours slow, it was 9 hours fast. The victim hadn't reset her clock since returning home. That's why the time you heard when you struck her dead in her apartment was wrong. Proof enough for you, Mr. Sawhit. Or should I say, Mr. Did It? I just got rabies. Sir, I think the witness died. Order, I say. So at the very least, this is completely plausible. You could use this evidence, not saying I murdered it, but you could use it definitely as evidence saying that at least your defendant's guilty. This case certainly is turned out differently. Mr. Payne, your witness, he was arrested and has been taken away, Your Honor. Very well. Mr. Wright? Yes, Your Honor. I have to say, I'm impressed. Okay, so they arrested him. That makes sense. Maybe it's not as wrong as I thought, because you can arrest somebody without going through the court process. They're arrested, have to go to trial based on this. But as long as your defendant is safe, that's your job. I've never seen someone complete an offense so quickly and find the true culprit at the same time. Thank you, Your Honor. At this point, this is only a formality. You said true culprit. You're a judge. You're supposed to be impartial. You can't confirm. But this court finds the defendant, Mr. Larry Butts, not guilty. I don't think that that's how it would work at all. Because although Mr. Sawhit is in prison, and with that, this court is adjourned. Although Mr. Sawhit is in prison, if there is not enough proof to show that he did the murder case, there is 100% chance that Larry Butts could possibly be a witness. There'd be no way you would say he's not guilty without having another trial on the other person first. You would have to hold them you may not have to hold them like in contention, or you may have to not have to hold them in a prison cell. You can't say not guilty, because if it turns out to be the person, congratulations, double jeopardy kicks in, and all of a sudden you're not allowed to testify against that person anymore. So you'd probably say, we're going to go through the other trial. You'll be brought up next. And, if something ever happens, you'll be brought up. So either Larry Butts would be in prison right now, or he would be on call, pretty much. That said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let's see. It turns out that Frank Sott was a common burglar. He posed as a newspaper salesman to check and see what... That day, when Larry went to her apartment, the victim wasn't home. After he left, Mr. Sott let himself in to do the dirty work. While he was searching her place, the victim returned. Flustered, Mr. Sott grabbed the nearest blunt object he could find and fucking killed her. Or squeezed a ketchup packet next to her head. Whew! I still can't believe we won. Right, good job in there. Congratulations. Thanks, Chief. I owe it all to you. Not at all. Not at all. You fought your own battles in there. It's just been a while since I've seen a trial end on such a satisfying note. I've never seen the Chief looking this happy. If she's this glad, imagine how Larry must feel. My life is over. Larry, you're supposed to be happy. What's wrong now? Aw, Nick, don't worry about me. I'll be dead and gone soon. Good. Wait, no, I mean bad. Larry, you're innocent. The case is closed. No, it's not, but whatever you say. But my Cindy Windy's gone, man. Gone forever. Larry, she was a... Never mind. Congratulations, Harry. Harry? Harry Butts. Yes, I can practically see the headlines now. Harry Butts, innocent. Thanks. I really owe you one. I won't forget this, ever. Let's celebrate. Dinner? Movie? My treat. Oh, no. I couldn't. Hey, I was the one who got you off the hook. Oh, hey. Here. Take this. It's a present. The bloody, badgered clock. A present? For me? Wait. Wasn't this evidence that... Actually, I made this clock for her. I made one for her and one for me. Really? You made this? Well, thank you. I'll keep it as a memento. You should sell those on Etsy. Yo, Nick! Can you believe it? So into that chick, and she was just playing me for a fool. Don't that make you just want to cry? As you hit on the fucking... my boss. Larry. Are you so sure? Excuse me? I think she thought quite a lot of you in her own way. Nah. You don't gotta sympathize with me, it's okay. Oh, I'm not sympathizing, really. Isn't that right, Wright? Don't you have something to show your friend? Something that proves how she felt about him? Uh-huh? Oh, yeah, right. Give him the attorney badge. Here's your fucking autopsy report of your dead girlfriend. Here's your passport where she was going to see all of her various sugar daddies. Well, it's a blackout record. I'm so tempted to show him this, but... do you want to be the nice person? Or do you want to be an asshole? Take it! Check this out, Larry. Proof positive you're just some chump to her. Huh? What about that clock? This is the clock you made for her, Larry, and she took it with her when she traveled. Whatever. She probably just needed a clock, that's all. You think so? It's a pretty heavy clock to take traveling. I'll make of it what you will. Hey, Nick. I'm glad I asked you to be my lawyer. Really, I am. Thanks. Hope that made him feel a little better. Right. I hope you see the importance of evidence now. I think every lawyer should see the importance of evidence before they even think about becoming a lawyer. Also, hopefully you realize how things change depending on how you look at them. People, too. We never really know if our clients are guilty or innocent. All we can do is believe in them. Yep. And in order to believe in them, you have to believe in yourself. No! Because granted, lawyers aren't allowed to outwardly show their bias towards a case, but... when they're thinking about it, a lawyer has every right to think, well, I think this person's guilty. And if you say, if you truthfully think that the person's guilty, you should bring up to them that maybe you can get them a lighter sentence. I mean, genuinely. But that's all being a lawyer is you're looking at the evidence. Even if the person did it, but there was enough evidence to prove that perhaps there's other people who could have been involved, people who were there at the same time and have a chance of being the actual murderer, even though your client is guilty, if there's any way you can pin the blame on somebody else and prove that it wasn't solely this person, and there's enough evidence to say it wasn't solely, you can literally let a murderer off the hook because it's your job. It's what you do as a lawyer. And that is really one of the most messed up things about being a lawyer, which I am not. But it is true. You kind of are stuck with the person you got. If they want to say, if you think as a lawyer they're 100% guilty, and they say, I'm not going to say I'm guilty in court, you as a lawyer have no right to say otherwise. You have to fight for their innocence as hard as you can with what you have. That's your job. All right. Listen, learn, grow strong. Never let go of what you believe in. Never. Well, I think our work here is done. Shall we be off? Yeah, I guess so. Say, how about dinner? On me. We'll drink a toast to innocent butts. Yeah. Oh, speaking of Harry, you were saying part of why you became a lawyer was because of him. Or, yeah, part at least. You'll have to tell me more about it sometime. Maybe over drinks? I'm getting somewhere. And so my first trial came to a close. Larry slapped me on the back and said, "Gee, Nick, it's good to have friends, but I'm pretty sure he's not going to pay us. Unless you count the clock he gave Mia." Again, you pay your lawyers beforehand. You pay them for every hour they work. And if you're going for a private lawyer, like Larry did, it's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $200 to $400 an hour. So that's why you fight. That's why as a lawyer, you fight as hard as you can to get the person's innocence, because you're getting paid. You're getting paid. It's different if you are a state attorney and not a private attorney, but I mean, generally, as a state attorney, you need to win. Or you want to win. You shouldn't need to win, but you should want to win. I didn't know it then, but that clock was soon going to be at the center of another incident, and my promise to tell the chief about me and Larry would be one promise that I wouldn't be able to keep. The end. Thank you so much for watching the video. Maybe you learned something. Maybe you thought I was hilarious. Maybe I got everything wrong. If you are a lawyer or know somebody who's a lawyer, feel free to let me know. That said, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like the video, do what you usually do, and as always, buy yourself something nice.